guys, how's it going? Today we are going to take a walk through the garden. So our first garden tour of the season. We're here in mid-April. Things are waking up rapidly at this point, and we've had some fluctuations in temperatures. Night before last it froze at Bethany's house and it was, I think, 34 here or 33. So we're still getting pretty cool at night, but our days are warming up, like 70 something today, I think. So anyway, I also want to try to fit our entire property into this one tour. So we are going to move today. I'm not going to talk about individual plants. I just kind of want to hit the highlights, things that are looking good. So we wanted to start right here on the brick patio because we've got two very glorious red buds at the moment. I have been so happy with this arrangement. This is a Carolina Sweetheart red bud right here, which will get quite large. Like, I want to say the tag said 25 to 30 feet tall, like 20 to 25 feet wide in the end. So clearly not something I can keep in here forever, but we planted it as sticks. I knew its potential, or I was hoping for its potential, and it's living up to that. Right behind it here we have the Eastern Redbud multi-trunk that is just, it's one of my favorite trees on the property. It's just so gorgeous in its structure, and the blooms are just amazing, and I really wish it bloomed longer. And that's kind of why I've been trying to add redbuds throughout the property, because I just enjoy them so much. Right in here, loving all the pansies and Dusty Miller. They haven't done a tremendous amount since we planted them. They've gotten a little bit thicker, a little bit more color, but it's just been fun to have this area alive with something in it. So that's been a really fun one. We've got some tulips in here. There's some leftover sort of, I kind of view tulips as whatever comes up the next year's leftover from the initial glorious display of the first year, because most tulips don't have staying power, not like daffodils. But there's, I want to say they're not Averon. They're a different double pink. They're really pretty. And then we've got the Vidal mix that we had in here very thickly, and it's kind of, they're thick in some spots and not as thick in others. But the incredible hydrangeas are coming back beautifully. You can also take a look at this. It's a shade bed, actually. I consider it a shade bed, but in the morning it gets some sun in through this way. The daffodils. I think, Aaron, if you come right over here, can you see them from that angle? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm so thrilled with the daffodil display this year because, you know, like last year, I don't remember there being this much color from them. So maybe we are good leaving them in here after all. They're just gorgeous, but we've been working on adding some shade stuff in here because most of the day it is shaded underneath this maple tree. So I'm really happy with how this is coming along. Down the west side here, I'm kind of going the opposite direction that we talked about going this morning, but oh well. We've got some really beautiful things. There's some spot on lungwort right here, but look at the difference. Spot on versus pink blue. Like, which one would you choose? Definitely this one. And I would probably put this in my top 10 perennials to plant in the garden. If you've got a part shade to shade area, this is a great one. It's been in bloom for weeks. It's one of the earliest things to start blooming. But even when it's done blooming, look at the leaves. That speckly silver on top, they just bring a lightness and a brightness to shady areas. And they're a substantial sized perennial here. I mean, that's pretty good right there. And I'd love to eventually split these or get some more and kind of fill in the front. I had attempted to put heucheras, which aren't quite as good at coming back, not all varieties anyway, in front, and that just didn't pan out. So we need to go in with more of these. Okay, one of our spring arrangements, when we planted this, the tulips were about this tall and you could barely even see buds. So I'm happy to see some color there. And then this little spot is pretty sweet right in here. I mean, it's just slowly filling in with things that we put in from year to year. We've got hostas coming up. The lamium is in just full, beautiful bloom. Oh my goodness. And then right here, I love this in the spring. This is the black pearl heuchera. This is a great one for a heuchera that has been here for, I don't remember when I planted these. Like, it's been that long ago, maybe 6 years, 7 years ago. I planted the black pearls and they still come up beautifully every single year. So that's a great one. But the muscari mixed in with the heuchera, love that. We've got limelight hydrangeas up here. And as you know, this area, I do have a sketch for it and I do have the boxwoods to start in with this space. Now, Paul has been working on this fountain. He's been soaking all of our fountain pumps in vinegar to remove all the hard water. And so I can actually smell it very strong in this area at the moment. But we are gonna be seeing a retool of this area this year. I just need to get the boxwoods up here. I keep telling Aaron, I just need to set them up here and just look at it for a little while and make sure I don't need to scale the idea a little bit bigger than I had initially thought. So it's one of those things you gotta just try something out first, Douglas. Okay, let's go this way. So I still need to I need to dig and move these at last roses, which at this point, like they're so leafed out. I kind of meant to do this earlier. Roses though, you know, we've dug and moved so many and they always tend to do great. Like they just are tough and they can handle it. So I'm not super stressed about that. We'll get to it when we get to it.
Check out the lawn.
Oh yeah, the lawn is looking great.
Threw down some fertilizer earlier this year.
So one application of fertilizer,
yeah.
And you did some gypsum. Did you do gypsum?
I did gypsum in the north garden.
Okay, so not out here, but yeah, it greened up beautifully. I think your dethatching really helped, Aaron.
Yeah, I think dethatching was a big help.
Yeah.
Got rid of all that snow mold and
yeah, it's looking really
thatch.
Nice. And this is, I think it hurt us talking about possibly removing it. And now, like last year and this year, it's been the most glorious it ever has. It's about ready to burst into bloom. All these pink buds just open into huge white flowers, and it's just beautiful. So here it stays. Through this area, we've got some really nice tulips. I think those are called like big apricot. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound right? I don't know. Anyway, they're gorgeous. I want to work on this bed a little bit. I want to plant some things that are fluffy that can kind of hide all this flim flam on the ground. And then add in a few more perennials in this space just to kind of round it out and hug the walkway. But we'll leave this space empty for the table. And I like to have a little bit of flexibility because like in the evening time, the sun is kind of weird. And we can move the table a little bit this way or that way depending on where the shade's at. And then I've got a bunch of shade stuff underneath the ash tree that we added in, was it last year or the year before?
Probably a little bit of both.
Oh yeah, I can't remember exactly when everything went in, but it's really filling in and I'm excited to keep going. But I kind of stayed away from the edge because I knew we might be taking out a big amount of grass and it was going to change the whole feel of the area and the whole shape of the area, and I didn't want to have to move a bunch of stuff. I'm okay moving some things, but I don't want to move a bunch of stuff. And then through here, we just planted this Bloodgood Japanese maple replacement for the one that we lost last year. We thought there was drip running to it and there wasn't, and all of a sudden it just dried up. It lasted, how long into the year though? It was like middle of summer.
A long time.
Yeah, and so we all thought it was fine. Like it has drip because it looks great, but it just was thriving by itself on its own over here. So now I do have proper drip run to this one and hopefully we'll have better luck with that. Okay, going out this way, we've got a lot of tulips coming up. There's some Johann Cruyff, something like that, and Blushing Lady. This is Blushing Lady. Love that color, and they open really beautifully. And then these are the Johann tulips right there. I had those two together in pots around the Hartley 2 years ago, and I loved it so much that I thought I got to get that out in the landscape somewhere. So I planted a bunch in here, and they're just starting to come up and bloom. We still need to move our great big sunflower. That is on my list to move that because it's a really bad spot for it. Yeah, we got to get after that. But out here, we have been seeing some changes, and this area will as well. Like the boxwood hedge, just this little wing that comes kind of weirdly into the flower bed is going to go, and that will change the whole feel of this area. In fact, it'll change it enough to where like I'll probably want to put something with a little more size right in here, and I can't do that right now because the boxwoods are in the way.
Do you want to put a boxwood hedge like along the lane?
Look, possibly, which would mean it would be out here. Chad has been here, so he has scraped out all of the old gravel and a bunch of soil. He's bringing in some good soil today. Actually, he's taking it from our pile, from all of the big tree spade like installations we've had going on this spring. They just made a big dirt pile, so he's gonna transfer some of that, fill this in and have it nicely smoothed out. And then we can get our sprinklers put in and grass started, and then this area will look a lot more like the existing area right there. I'm very excited to see that happen.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, seeing the lines on the ground is really helpful, because visually, when we were thinking about doing this straight line, I thought there's not enough room. We can't go straight all the way down there. And we actually can. It's just weird what our eyes will do, you know.
I asked Chad to scrape up all this gravel as well. And then we'll extend the walkway to the red line.
That's why I haven't planted the pots, because I thought, well, I don't even know if I'm going to want pots out here. They are connected to drip though, so I left them for now. And then once the pathway is extended, I think maybe a little arbor and pots flanking would be pretty. But we'll just see what happens. He's just rolling around in there. You having a dirt bath, bud? Funny. Okay, let's go back this direction, because the Persephone garden pansies are looking really pretty, and the tulips have started to bloom. There's a lot of buds I'm seeing, but there's some color as well from them. And this is the Beaujolais blend from Color Blends. I think this quadrant might have the most. You know, the year that we planted these in the fall, I planted a ton and they came up very, very thick. But we plant this with annuals every single summer. So if you're planting bulbs and annuals in the same space, you're likely to run into some bulbs, which I have because I plant stuff. So that kind of eventually weeds them out. And then there are some varieties that just don't come back quite as nicely. But I love seeing some color in here from those. I think it's just a really sweet spot. These little yellow violas are one of my favorites. I just think they're so happy and bright looking. Love that. Okay, let's go through this way. Go back toward maybe like the kitchen flower bed. We can take a look at these spring containers, which I just recently gave an update on. Look at the aliums in here. Oh my gosh. Those are going to be gorgeous. I see buds coming up. Oh. But these, I planted one variety of tulip in the center that were blooming or almost blooming at the time of planting. And then these I planted around them. They were about this big, with the hope that they would do exactly this, that these would be a show for a while, which they were. And then these would eventually grow up and kind of take their place as the centerpiece. So that kind of elongated our spring interest, which I think was fun. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. This area is filling up with columbine. It's a pale yellow. It's very beautiful. We have some sidewalk chalk art right here. I bought that sidewalk chalk to take out to the basketball court. Right here. This is where it ends up, and that's okay. You know, let's just pop in here quick and then we'll come back out to the Hartley. So, you know, we had talked about different ideas for this area, like putting in an outdoor fireplace, kitchen, not fireplace, redoing the outdoor fireplace we already have. And then we just got to thinking about it, and it just seems so unnecessary because our kitchen is right here. Our grill fits perfectly right by our door, and it's 2 steps out our door. And I don't know, just adding more kitchen space just makes more area to need to clean. And we were also thinking we have a seating area already here. We have a huge brick patio over there. We have the fireplace patio right there. It's just gonna be more patio and less flower bed. And we just thought, I don't think that fits in this space. And we look out the kitchen at this and seeing this beautiful viburnum. This was here when we moved in, and I just adore it. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It smells wonderful. Our lilac, the white lilac that we've been saying we need to take out, it has slime flux, or did, but it doesn't seem to have spread. It seemed to stop last year, and it's full of buds. So I think at this point, just gonna leave stuff until it's like on its last leg, because I don't really want to see more stuff come out if it doesn't necessarily need to, in this space in particular. It's only so many spaces I can have like tore up at the same time. We did plant the honeylocust right in here the other day, and that was an adventure. We ran into 4 different PVC pipes. Like, you've got to be kidding me with the pipes. But I really like where it ended up. I think having it right here is going to be perfect. And in the process of planting, I think we dug out a lot of the anemones, which is good. They spread so fast and they're all the way around here. But I was thinking, I've got like 100 peach foxglove. Wouldn't that be pretty? I have purple delphiniums and peach foxglove, and maybe like some purple annuals just a little bit right around the front. I think that'd be so, so pretty. we'll see what happens there, but I'm excited about this space. Going in here to the fireplace area, you can see all the color starting to form up on the lilac, and this red point maple, we planted this. It's so fun to see things start to like get some size, especially trees like that. The west side over there where we've got the 5 maple trees, which we'll hit on the way out to the south garden, I think we're gonna have to change it to shade. A lot of shade perennials here like in the next year or two, which I'm happy to do. I'm so excited to have shade. I love this space though. It's just, you know, part of this area, like it's very intimate, and we wish that we could fit, I think, more. And that's kind of why we thought maybe if we retooled this area, made this larger to fit more people around. I think we just need to get smaller furniture, honestly. I think this is very comfortable furniture. Just picked this up at Home Depot like years ago, and we need new cushions because most of them are turned to where the ripped side's not showing. But I think if we got something a little bit different, lower profile, we could fit a lot more people and enjoy the space even more, but we enjoy it now too. I love this right here. I can see a couple of branches, and I knew it. I knew I needed to take a couple of these out, but I love what they create right behind the angel statue. And you can see the akebono tulips. Now that's a variety that comes back every year. Very tough, long lasting.
I wonder if they come back better right there because you don't really mess with them.
Well, that too, that too for sure. But you know, some like the white cubed underneath the willow, the big blend that I put over here by the chicken coop that one year, they just barely came back, you know, and I don't mess with them. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes it has to do with me, for sure. Coming down into this area, the boxwoods, I have to like make a couple retractions in this video. One, the green velvet boxwoods have grown on me. I think I was hating on them so much because they came through that first winter looking so bad, but we planted them, when was that? So late. We planted them so late, and they had no chance to root in. And the fact that most of them, did I have to replace any of them other than the ones that got smothered by annuals? I don't think I did. No, I don't think you did. So they were tough. They made it through. They looked crummy the first year. Now they look awesome. Minus the ones I just had to replace because, again, this was my fault. I planted Play in the Blues salvia in here, which is one of my favorite annuals, but it gets big and it leans over. And I just didn't connect what was going on, and they leaned over some of the boxwoods and just smothered them and killed them. So I had to replace some on either end of the Hartley. Learn by doing, that's how I do it. So if I ever do that again, I will fashion some sort of barrier between the two so that they're not killing each other. But look at the pansies and violas looking so pretty, and the parterre looking so robust, like all of these boxwoods looking so pretty. I am just so thrilled with it. The whole thing back here. Now we do have a few tulips from a couple years ago still coming up, and we'll be planting annuals here in just a matter of like 2 or 3 weeks. We'll get our annual load in. It's still a little iffy. We couldn't plant them right now, even if I had them. But I thought next year it'd be fun to put pansies in here. Would that be fun? Just for some early color. Okay, moving this direction, we planted couple Julia Child tree roses to mimic the ones on the other side. And then this area has really changed, and I'm excited to start filling this area up as well. So this was our sod experiment last year. It was Erin and my first experience with sod, and it was a good one. Do you know what kind of grass that is?
You know, I don't. I'm assuming it's probably some kind of a Kentucky blue and
perennial rye
mix.
It's gorgeous. It didn't skip a beat.
No.
You were very diligent with watering and stuff, though. Douglas is rubbing all over Erin's legs. Erin, you were watering it like for 3 minutes every...
Yeah, I just kept the, you know, the top portion of the soil moist all the time. And it wasn't ever muddy. It wasn't like you couldn't walk through it. But yeah, if you water for like 2 or 3 minutes, 6 or 7 times a day,
yeah,
I think it really liked that.
I agree, because it's looking beautiful. This area is always a favorite of mine. The weeping willow is just so pretty, but it is so crazy to me that the way this garden used to look. So the Hebe statue used to be, I'll stand right where she was. Right here. And the willow, like in its defense, was a lot smaller when we moved in, but we eventually thought like this is the worst because this tree is gorgeous when you leave it alone. Like let it do its weeping thing, but if you have something tucked in there, I felt like I needed to constantly come in here and shave off part of the branches so you could see her. So Paul, Bethany, Erin, and I moved her last year when we expanded this flower bed, because the flower bed used to only come out to like here. So we made it so much more deep, and we have the ability to do so many more things in here. So I'll probably need to move a bunch of these lower perennials, because I could plant something a little bit more architectural, like maybe the Oklahoma Sweetheart or something like that, that's not gonna get massive in this space. Or like a forest pansy redbud would be beautiful in here. Anyway, something with a little bit more size, and then we can come in with more stuff. And right in this space, I'm kind of thinking more cottagey, more full and abundant, to kind of offset or juxtapose the formality that we have in the parterre garden. Let's go look at the pond. Kind of want to go in via Dream Stream entrance over here. We're saving this space for annuals. This is like a prime spot for annuals. It's super visible. We drive by it all the time. But I really would also like to add a nice backdrop of perennials in there. We do have baptisia and what are they? Hibiscus. Those thicker sticks back there, those are hibiscus. But I would like to have a little bit more of a thick backdrop, and then a smaller portion of annuals right up here. But this space is just one of our favorites. We love it so much. So, you know, this late winter, the pathway started to be laid. They have not put the sand in it. They're waiting for heat to put all that binding sand in. And after that, we're gonna come in and redefine all of these edges right along here. And I think we're gonna line it with brick eventually, correct?
Yeah.
Am I right? So that it matches the other side and kind of has a very distinctive look to it. It keeps the mulch from getting into the gravel and vice versa. But look at this. It's just, I don't even know what to say about it. Now, there's some bubbling in the center there. That's because the lid to the wetland filter, it has been dislodged. So we need to get in there and just tighten that lid back up. But just the whole thing, all the layers in here. Last night we were playing back here, the kids and I just realized how beautiful it was to look, and we will look in just a second. From back there up to the house, you get like a little peek of the redbud and the heartleaf, a little bit of this and that, and it's just so pretty. So we're just working on, you know, filling up this space with things, with plants. And you'll notice a whole bunch of red flags back here. We marked off, are those red or orange?
Maybe a combination of both.
Yeah. Anyway, we marked off on video for you guys all of the pathways where the trampoline's going. We can walk through it really quick. Still need to move this viburnum because I really would like to put a bench right in here. So I think we need to remove like these two rocks and these two, just so we can kind of hollow this out enough to maybe pop a few stones down and put a bench here. So this could just move, you know, literally like 6 feet away and be totally fine. But I love the whole feel of this. I love the flow and how it pulls you, you know, in different directions. We'll go back up this way in a minute, but oh, look at that. I love that view. I love it. I don't think I would change a single thing. I mean, other than like the bench spot.
Yeah.
But you don't know until you live in a space and you move in that space how you want to use it and where the nicest shade is and all of that. So there's no way to know that until it's there. But I wouldn't change like structurally anything about this area. And usually I want to change stuff. I don't want to change a thing. So over here, I'll just run through this really quickly. This pile will be gone, and this is where the pathway will branch off. And there will be flower bed here and here. And then you can either take the pathway this direction or you can take it this direction. If you go this way, it's gonna curve between the two berms, and we're gonna add in some big boulders and things like that, some more interest that way. So it very much so adds some cohesiveness from the pond area to this space here. And so this will just be flower bed. And then this area will lead you over here to the lawn and then also to a trampoline. So all this is flower bed still. And then where you see these flags, this is where the grass line starts. So there'll be grass all the way around a sunken trampoline right here. And it's just kind of the perfect thing to add into the play area. You know, you've got the basketball court, we'll have the trampoline, the play set, and then a lot of grass to run around and play in.
You know, in the future too, I can see a fountain going right here.
You know, that's what my parents did.
Really?
Similarly, they had, we had one of those swimming pools, like the ones that are like this tall. And it was like, I don't know, 10 feet or whatever, 8 feet, 10 feet wide. And so we had it in the back lawn and it just burned a hole in the grass. And so they just added a fountain and some roses around it. It worked out perfectly. But I was, yeah, that's very true. So eventually that can be a water feature or whatever sort of area when we've all outgrown the trampoline. Right in here, the pathway will lead back to the court, and then this will be flower bed that will actually, like, it goes to here, but it doesn't stop right here. It's going to keep going and curve back toward the basketball court, and that way we can plant some beautiful things in here, which will sort of help block the high tunnel view from the pond, and it'll block all of this too.
Also, I just want to say the RTF, the fescue that we planted back here, I totally would recommend it, and I kind of wish that we would have planted it in the front. I wish we would have it everywhere.
Really?
Yeah.
Because it looks so different in the orchard.
Yeah, just because it doesn't get mowed very often. It's the same, you know, your parents have it in their little
theirs looks more
meadow
green
area.
And thin. Maybe it's because the voles ate a lot of it.
Yeah, I think it just reacts differently if it gets cut or not. I think it
Sure.
stools out if you cut it a lot. But yeah, I'm really happy with it.
And you know, they say that RTF has a thicker blade. And I mean, that might be true if you put it right up next to a Kentucky bluegrass, you know, or something like our perennial rye. But it's still like, it's a soft, it's not, I don't know. When I think of a thick bladed grass, I think of like that stuff that, you know, grows up at soccer fields. It's like, it'll cut you, you know, if you touch it wrong. But this is a nice soft one.
Yeah, I think it's soft. I honestly, I almost feel like it's superior in like just about every way.
Really?
To the other grass.
You want to lift all that sod?
No,
Start
we're
over?
gonna leave it.
Can you imagine?
But I'm very happy. It's still, we've got a little bit of work. This grass didn't come in quite as well as the one, this patch right here around the playset, and I don't know why. But either way, I'm very happy.
Yeah, it looks way better than it did.
Yeah.
Way better.
Well, and I just put it in last fall, so I think that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, a little backtracking, but we'll get to see some pretty vistas here from this angle. So this is one of the ones I was looking at last night when we were out here. You know, you could see that new Centaura pura lilac that I just planted and the Japanese maples leafing out. And you can look through over the running water and you can see the Hartley and the redbud and the Serbian spruce. I mean, it's just so pretty. I love seeing all the layers. Okay, and then one of my favorites right here. Walking through, see there's fish swimming right now, swimming up to this pool. And then you get to step over the water, which I love. Here comes another one. Making the morning trek. Oh, nope, sauce. It's heading back. It's so pretty, though, when the morning light comes over all of this water. The marsh marigolds are just fantastic. I don't know what to expect out of this plant exactly. They were in bloom when they installed them, the folks from Oregon Aquatics last fall. And then they started blooming really early this spring. So like, do they bloom all year? If they do, I need more. They're awesome. Hey, bud. People think I don't pet him as much, and I do. But he's a little bit more mean than Russell, so I have to be careful. I've added a few perennials in this area, some saxifrage and nepeta looking pretty already, and the Beaujolais loosestrife right there. And this is just such a sweet spot. We've sat out here. In fact, we need to swap the propane because we've been using the fireplace. It's that perfect time of year where it's cool enough at night that you want a fire, but it's nice enough that you can sit out. And look at these hungry fish. I don't know. They're not hungry. I think this is just habit.
Yeah. I have talked to both Chris and Greg about getting rid of tannins in the water, which is that coppery look, which comes from generally logs like this. We don't know if it's this one or maybe another one, but we're gonna try. Greg is gonna bring out at some point some like charcoal, which they call something carbon, and you put that in the biofalls. Well, we're gonna try that first, I think, and then if that doesn't work, we will take the stump out.
Yeah. I mean, whenever you look at a stream in the wild, right, it looks like this because there's pieces of wood and debris and stuff all over. So it doesn't bother me.
It kind of bothers me just a little
it?
bit. Yeah, I think I would rather have clearer looking water and not have a stump.
Sure.
If I was given the options.
Sure. Well, you think about what it looked like prior to the Dreamstream expansion, and it looked like this. So that makes me think
Yeah.
it's probably this one.
Yeah, and we can just bring in a big rock
Yeah.
to replace that stump, and
I think it'll look very similar.
Yeah, I don't think you'll really miss
Yeah.
it.
I do like the addition of the pieces of wood though, and the stumps and logs. In fact, so much so that when we bought the land right behind us, there was a stump there, and I was looking at it like, I think I could use that somewhere. So it's just like cut off at the base, and we just popped it. And I think it looks good right there.
Yeah.
It looks like it's in keeping with this space. But we have added a few things over here. It's just fun to see life coming back because it's so many months of not having it, and then you kind of forget, and you're kind of like, this is like the worst.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing pretty to look at, and that's why winter interest, and we've been working on that so hard because it does help when you've got pretty branches and evergreens and stuff like that. So this area is coming right together. Thundercloud plum, it's just out of its peak, but boy, my goodness, when it was first in bloom, it was just, oh, glorious. I can't believe that tree like made it through everything, because that was in that triangle shaped garden that we used to have there. So I feel like this space has really come along. You will notice some like fluffy soil toward the edge because we're putting in water faucets and things like that along the whole exterior. But we've worked pretty hard at filling in this space right here. And then of course we were able to put in Malad's trees, which was a huge, awesome addition. It was a boon to this space to add these evergreens. Now, had we known we were gonna stumble across this deal, we would have put them on this side.
Sure.
Instead of this side.
But we've done a good job of planting a lot of evergreens here. I mean, these will all get really big, and they'll create a nice block eventually. We need to put something behind that birch, though.
Well, this birch has 2 dead trunks.
Oh, does it really?
Yep, this one and this one need to come out.
Oh, wow.
Which means this one's nicely shaped, though. We'll have to maybe like counter this one back a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just noticing that the other day. But yeah, I think we could put even something like right in here that's got some bulk to it. But there's also hibiscus and Rosa Sharons and lilacs and dogwoods out here that we've worked on putting in. I'm thrilled that the Deodar cedars have thrived. We've got 2 of them on the property, and they are doing, no, we've got 3. And they're doing great, all 3 of them.
They are a zone 7?
Ooh, 6 or 7, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the strawberry moon chatalpa. I am noticing the buds starting to swell on that, so that makes me happy. But I'm seeing like leaves come out on all kinds of things. Our parotia tree over there, linden's starting to wake up. The beech tree we put in that totally fried last year is starting to come back. This one still might need to be moved though. Beech trees in our area just can't hack the heat. They just can't hack it. And neither can larch trees. That was something I was going to mention because I was talking about our larch last year, how it fried, and I was worried that it died. And then there were a bunch of people who said, well, they turn brown in the fall and lose their leaves. Well, yes, I realized this, but it fried in the summertime because we planted it out and it was super hot, it had no protection. And anyway.
It shouldn't fry in July and August.
No. We have a Kwanzaa cherry that's about ready to start blooming. And I love it because once these 2 are mature, we've got a thundercloud plum right here, which is earlier, and then our Kwanzaa cherry will take up and do its thing. I don't know that 2 of those birch trees are alive.
Oh, yeah.
Which honestly, I'm not happy about that. I mean, not happy, but you know what I mean? I think things will fit better back there just to have 1. We have our heritage birch grove. We should add like 5 more, Aaron.
Yeah.
Just right in here into this space.
Are these all coming back?
I think so. They all have leaves coming out. I love the bark on those. So I've got 3 Centara double blue lilacs right in here. Planted those last fall. There's also hibiscus that will come up here. Probably next month we'll see some activity out of those. And then you can see like faucets coming up. They've been
they
installed.
grow out of the ground.
Yeah, you know what I mean. There are piles of mulch, which, you know, we're going to continue on with the mulch. We got quite a good distance, but we still have more to do.
This whole area is just very much in progress.
Yeah, well, lots of weeds and stuff, but it doesn't even like that kind of thing used to, I would have just been like sick about it and out here 24/7 trying to get all the weeds slicked up. Now I'm like, it doesn't matter. We'll get to it when we get to it. It's fine. Because like we still have pasture coming up right here, which this is going to be flower bed as well. And
It's crazy to think that this whole area was lawn grass. Like the whole thing, pretty
Yeah.
much.
from like right here, Aaron,
Yeah.
right here over, it was all lawn.
Can you imagine mowing that much grass?
No.
That'd be crazy.
It would be the worst. Well, I don't know, maybe you would love it. Put on your
No,
headphones
there's
and-
definitely, there's a limit to what this guy likes to mow.
Yeah. Do we have like the sweet spot of grass?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in here, it's kind of our storage area ish. There's like extra fence parts. A lot of this is going to be stored underneath the shed that was supposed to be built in October of last year, and it's still not even started. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Looks like Paul might be working on a drip project over here. I see his gator. But there's things that, like we have our pile of firewood that when we had it dropped here, the fence didn't exist. The fence went in this winter, but all of that's gonna actually be stored under cover when we get the shed built as well. So a lot of this stuff you'll see just disappear from here so that we can plant this area up with trees and shrubs as well. But it sure is nice to have this big open area where you can just drop stuff and you can easily access everything. Especially like the implements, Aaron. I feel like having the implements out and just like a lot of area around them, at least for me, if I was driving the tractor, I would appreciate that.
Yeah. I'd prefer they didn't get rained on though.
Yeah, that would be nice to have them under cover. We have a Kentucky coffee tree right here, which I can see some buds on. It's interesting to see the things that come out so early and the things that just don't, that take a little bit longer. Where'd Paul go? He disappeared. Oh, there he is. Our show-off forsythias, out of the 10 we popped out of the containers, 9.5 of them are alive. So these 5 look awesome. And they've been in bloom for weeks. How many weeks do you think?
Like a month.
Yeah, it was like mid-March.
Yeah, they're
And
just starting to go out now.
they look so pretty. I'm so thrilled with these. And I'd love to add like groups of 5 everywhere out here. So there's just big amounts of yellow and they'll just get bigger and more full than they are now. We can walk through the trees here. We are putting in a lane, like a gator lane, that will come out about here. And it'll basically just make a loop through this area and then come out at the start so that we're gonna berm this area up and maybe add some boulders in here and have a little bit more contour, and then we'll plant this with trees and shrubs as well. But there's some pretty things in here.
Like this?
Well, I was not gonna highlight that, Aaron. That was one of the spruce trees that came out of the Hartley pots. I don't know why both of them that we planted out here died.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
I think they were on the way out already from being in the pots. I don't think they loved being in the Hartley pots.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember them still looking pretty good.
No, I don't think they loved it.
I thought we tossed one and then, or
That's
no,
what I
one
mean.
went to Bethany's. I think she tried to recoup it and she said there's still green in the bottom.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like this. There's still green at the bottom. The rest of it's dead.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? We've got a Royal Frost birch right in there that I love. There's some like random junipers. This is a Donald Wyman lilac that blooms purple and late. It bloomed last year, really pretty. We have a vanilla twist redbud right here, which honestly, like this would be the perfect type of tree to put in by the willow where I was talking about putting something in, because out here, like it kind of gets a little bit lost because it's not super huge. And once we have a lane in here and we have more things around it and behind it, it'll probably be fine. But this is the kind of like really pretty, interesting shaped thing I want for that space. And look how pretty the blooms are. You should get close on these. They're so pretty. Look at how gorgeous those are. They're just starting to open. Love that. So this is the half one. And I say 9.5 survived. This one has like, maybe not like 9 1/10, like one branch. It's weird though, because this one shot out a bunch of buds and they're still a little bit soft.
I think something could have been eaten on the roots.
No, I mean, it's holding fast.
Should we leave it or
I
pull
think
it?
we should give it a minute because, I mean, there's still flecks in the branches and it budded out and then it just like kind of fried. I don't know what the deal is, but you know, the 4 other ones are looking good. We've got Like the Wichita blue juniper we just planted this spring. It needs to be staked. I was noticing that last night.
Well, this was the one that was weird in its can. Do you remember?
Yes, I do remember that. And so now it's like leaning, so we'll get that staked. But the Leyland cypress looks good. This, if I remember correctly, is a perfect purple crabapple, and it's got buds just everywhere. So this will have bright pink blooms here shortly. And then one of my favorite trees, this is a European white bark birch, and I'll show you a more mature specimen here in just a minute, but I love the brightness of the green and the brightness of the trunk, that bright white, and then the catkins that these get, especially as they mature, I'll show you on the other one, are just long and beautiful, and it just looks so like, wow, just delicate in a way. I love it. And then there's some other, Spring Grove arborvitaes and Austrian pine. We've got a lilac right in here, which I don't recall the variety here. This might be a President Lincoln right here. Okay, let's hop over to the south garden. I feel like we're getting through everything pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh, so I'll just say, like, over here for the grass pathway that comes in, I think we're gonna have it match, like the pathway will be 15 feet like our other ones, and it'll start in right here and go through and make a loop around. And I think it'll look really good. So like right in here, trying to remember what we talked about. Are we doing grass here, or am I doing some kind of a tree or whatever right in here? It's kind of a weird spot when you've got a grass line like this and no fence. Yeah. But I think it'll make sense. And especially once we get the pathway in here and we plant something or put a big rock in here or something like that. Fountain. Something real pretty right there. So let's walk along the lane here and look at a few things, and then we'll go into the loop. But there's one thing in particular I'm loving right now, and that's the addition of that Showy crabapple. You see that just shining down there? That was such a good add. Every once in a while, like, I'll add something in and think, oh, I should have added that 2 years ago. But you just don't know until things start to fill in. But we've recently planted foxglove, which looks like they got a little bit nipped. That's interesting. They looked beautiful last night when we walked by them.
A little cold last night?
Maybe. They're largely okay, though. I threw them out of from the warm greenhouse straight out into the landscape. I didn't harden them off, so kind of expected that. The forest pansy redbud's about ready to burst, too. So we'll have a little overlap with this show-off forsythia and that beautiful redbud. Okay, so here is a more mature European white bark birch. So pretty, and like when the light's shining through them, oh, there's something magical about it. I mean, just like seeing the layering and then looking through and seeing all of the daffodils back in there and the hydrangeas leafing out rather back in there. I just think that adds so much beautiful structure and texture. The Lady Jane tulips are so pretty. So in the morning, you can see that they're more closed, and we're still morning right now, but it's starting to warm up. So they open up really wide during the daytime and then close really tight at night, and they look much more vibrant pink when they're closed because it's on the outside of the petals, and when they're open, they're white. But I just love them. They're a species tulip, and this type of tulip will naturalize and kind of spread around a little bit. In fact, you can even see, like right here, for example, I planted one bulb, and now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 flowers from that one bulb, and it's spread a little bit. So it's producing little side bulbs, and eventually, hopefully, we've got just like a huge mass of them right here. But I recently did plant some perennials. We had a massive windstorm like the day after. It blew. I mean, it wasn't like crazy. It was like 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts, which we're completely used to. But it did that for like almost 24 hours. It was just, ugh. And 3 of these Echinacea almost uprooted completely. So I put them back up. They were not very rooted in their cans. I put them back up and I just packed some wet soil around them. So we've got a couple with a little bit of a lean, and I'm hoping that they root in and go for it. But look at this crabapple. Again, this is the Showy variety. Looks like we have a leak, like it was shooting in right there.
Oh, is that a water leak?
It looks like a water leak went down and just like hollowed it out. You know how it does?
Yeah.
I don't know, we can fix that. I mean, there's a lot of water around it, so
yeah.
We'll need to fix that. But look at the gorgeous blooms here. This one grows 25 by 20.
Do you think, is it possible you hit a water line
Oh yeah.
when you were planting?
Well, I probably hit that one.
Is that what it is, you think?
Yep, it is. I can feel it. Yep.
Nice. Well, it got watered.
Yeah. Planted a Centara pura right here. It's looking gorgeous. This is my favorite Shade Master honeylocust I think we have. And when you're comparing all the newer ones we planted. So this is one that we put in 2 years ago. The trunk though, like, this is crazy, right? Like in 2 years.
Oh, this isn't 2 years. This is this is
3?
Closer. No, this is from like the beginning.
Oh, it's much more impressive when you say it's 2 years old.
We planted this yesterday.
I swear this went in as like a second shift of things.
No, it's been in for a while.
Oh, okay. Well, my apologies on the timeline. It's still impressive. I love this tree.
Yeah, it's a good looking tree.
Yes. And then recently planted this popcorn viburnum and the coreopsis in here. And then of course our trio of birch trees, which I love. So let's just take a stroll through here. I'm gonna wheel this up real quick. So taking a stroll down this grass pathway, you can just see things popping up. I love this view. I love how this is coming together. Maybe we could put some footage of what this looked like.
Yeah, maybe.
The first year we started tackling it. I mean, because it's absolutely insane to me sometimes when I look back to that and think that's where it started. And I still see all of these holes and things that I want to do and think, you know, trees I want to put in. But then I realized like we've made it quite a distance on this space. And I'm really, really thrilled with it. There's a few things I still need to do. I would like to clean all of the leaves off that smoke bush right there. In fact, I might take that out. I think it's dead back to the ground again. It does that every single year. I think I could put something better in there and not have to fight it. That might be on the removal list. But we've got the leucogem, the snowdrops. Summer snowflakes, not snowdrops, sorry. But they come up looking like snowdrops, and except they have really long stems, they hold really well in a vase, and they last forever in the landscape and in a vase. I just love that bulb. We've got I think this is a red baron or a baron crabapple, so it doesn't get very big, but oh my gosh, it's so loaded with buds, it's gonna be gorgeous. And then our spring grove arborvitaes. These have
getting really fast.
Yeah. I mean, do you remember what these looked like when we planted them?
Yeah.
They were like, maybe?
Yeah.
Like this wide?
Really small.
And it looked so bad out here. Like,
I'd like to see some more height on them.
the people, those of you who have stayed with us since that, like the beginning of this, like kudos. Because it's hard for me to watch that. I'm like, oh my gosh, we were planting like in the middle of Mars out here. And you guys just were troopers through the whole ugly phase of this area. Oh, we do still want to do something with this area. Now, I did have plans of what I was going to do in here last year, and I'm glad that it took so long because I've changed my mind.
What were you going to do?
Well, maybe we can throw a picture up. It was a really beautiful gazebo, but I feel like, I don't know, if we were able to, we were working with somebody on it, if he was able to like get right on it, I'm such a, like, let's move now. I'll make a decision and I want to move now. And if we can't move now, then I change my mind in like 2 weeks. Like I'll see something else that I think is beautiful and then I think, well, maybe I should have put that there. So I've got some other ideas of things I want to do in this space, but the gazebo was kind of like had a rustic charm to it. But when I kept seeing renderings of what they came up with based on the picture that I had, it wasn't quite like the scale wasn't right, the proportions weren't quite right, and I knew it was gonna not be cheap and I wanted to make sure it was gonna be. It made me a little nervous, honestly. So I'm glad that we put the brakes, I guess, on that project for that time. And then, you know, the whole dream stream happened and that was enough, like to fill up my mind and my, like the brain space to think about that new area. And then just the areas that we still have to put together. Like, I need to focus.
I think you need to focus on this.
I will. I'll get there. You don't see it as much in the summertime when things are grown up and all leafed out.
Yeah, you kind of see it.
Would you rather look at this though, or the big empty flower bed up front?
Well, let's do both.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, we've got a beautiful lilac, the Centara double blue right here. This one actually has a little bit more size to it, which is so fun. But I planted 2 of these in the pot by the greenhouse, and they're of course more ahead than the ones out in the landscape because they were in the high tunnel up to that point. But they smell so good. I just love walking by that container, and I'm going to plant those 2 out, probably somewhere out here when they're done in the container. But this area is just beautiful with the daffodils. I need to rectify that bench a little bit, bring up that right side. But this is the larch I was talking about, how it just completely got crispy and brown, and I just thought, oh no, because it's the perfect shape and it only gets like 6 feet wide. So I'm very hopeful. We planted an autumn brilliance serviceberry right here, which will, like, we can train the canopy and trim it so that it's not impeding the growth of the larch, but I think it will provide much needed shade in the summertime. Maybe not this year, but in years to come. So we shall see, but I'm so happy to see all the fresh green growth here.
How would that provide shade?
Well, its canopy will get pretty wide. So
yeah, but the sun comes from over
not in the
here.
summer. It's in the winter it's like this, and in the summer it's more straight up and down. So this one will provide more shade. I mean, maybe not from like, it'll provide shade on this side of it.
Gotcha.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I planted that as close as I could to help that tree out. We added this clump of birch trees last year, and I love it right there, as well as there's some agastache in here and some sedum, and then the beautiful, is it something fantasy muscari from Proven Winners. I've got some in a container in the high tunnel. I need to bring that out because they're much more advanced than these, and they're huge. The blooms are huge and puffy, and they're like no other muscari I've ever seen. Okay, over here, the Autumn Brilliance serviceberry is just going out of peak. It's still full of blooms, but they are starting to fall. I can see some petals on the ground, but this is such a glorious tree. It blooms like this in the spring. The blooms are followed by red and dark blue berries, which are edible. The birds love them. And then in the fall, the foliage turns a brilliant, bright red. And I love the structure of this one being a multi-trunk. I think it's so beautiful. I'm gonna pop over to the beginning of this because I love the approach seeing Hebe and all these daffs from the other angle. Look at this. I mean, this angle, you get to see all of the different layers here. You see the Hebe fountain, you see the serviceberry down there, and it's just so pretty. So right here we have daffodils that are called Banana Splash. And they're a split corona type, so the trumpet in the center kind of folds back and lays on the back petals, but that trumpet is a bright yellow color. Centara Double Blue about ready to open, as well as our Kwanzaa Cherry, which these blooms are big and fluffy and pink. So this will be a gorgeous pairing together. And a few tulips here and there, not many. I'm loving the flame willows though. Those have been such an amazing addition to this space. And we've talked about how we should put more of these out in the dirtlands, because in the wintertime, the stems are brilliant. They're like a bright fiery orange red, and they show up beautifully back here. We are working on getting Fountain set back up, so we'll get her up and running here soon. But we've got a magical glow birch right here that looks really pretty with those drapey catkins again. And then here's another Shade Master. See, this one was planted at the same time as the other one. It's not as big.
No, I think that one was planted like a year or two after. I'll look it up. I'll look it up for this video. I'll put the dates on the screen when we did it.
Maybe you're right. That's a pretty one though. And then black lace elderberry is starting to leaf out. We've got a few things we have to pull. There's a Sesky dwarf gold birch. I had a trio, and it looks like 2 of them have not come through the winter.
Which is so weird because they've been there for 3 years.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is, but honestly, I was telling Aaron last night as we were walking through, it's kind of a good thing sometimes when that happens, because in this area, I feel like this is choking that. So having this one gone will be actually beneficial. And the back one doesn't really matter at this point because there's other things filling in the gap. So I can just clean this front one up, and this one will be able to kind of shine and stand out a little bit more. I think it's not a bad thing, always. Okay, let's go to the formal flower garden. Okay, wanted to start here at the new strawberry beds, just to show you how they're looking so far. They're looking fantastic. I am just, like, I couldn't be happier with this area and these beds. I think they're beautiful. The fact that, you know, it's gonna make strawberries so much easier for us to tend and harvest is just amazing. And this space was pretty much unused. I mean, we had the blueberries here, but the blueberries kind of struggle. Blueberries do for us typically. So I feel like it's just gonna be much more productive space, better use of space, and I just love it. Okay, so let's take a look over here.
We tested, by the way, with Samantha picking, and she can reach to the middle of each bed.
Yeah.
So as long as she goes around. And we talked about how, you know, she's not gonna be this size for very long.
Yeah.
So having raised beds is gonna be really nice.
Yes. Okay, so the formal flower garden is in process at the moment. We are actually expecting the extra pallets of bricks that we ended up needing to order for this project because we ended up doing wider pathways than we initially thought, so we didn't order enough bricks. Anyway, it took them a while to get here. They're supposed to arrive today. So this is the only quadrant that they've don't have the pathways done in, but you can kind of see, and we'll look at this next one here, what they look like. I am really happy with the job that this crew is doing. They're just beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so now time for my second retraction, and that is of the fountain. Let's go over there.
Well, it's still leaking a little bit.
It is, but not as bad. So the other day when we came out here to set the fountain up, we got it cleaned out. I looked at everything. I looked at like the plug where the fountain goes, or the pump cord rather, goes through the bottom and the middle. Everything seemed to be in place because that plug was siliconed around last year. And then, yeah, we filled it up and started to run it. And then I just saw water pouring out from under the bowl. And we had noticed some hairline cracks in the bowl of the fountain. And so I thought, well, those are just leaking like a sieve and we've got to get this thing fixed, you know? So, and then I also showed like cracking in the finish and things like that, which that's all still true. The bowl has hairline cracks. The finish is cracked in multiple locations, but I did also say that I knew that that was because we didn't cover it and that was our decision. So like, I don't expect ever a company to like swoop in and, you know, try to rectify a situation that I caused, you know, clearly. But what we didn't realize is that that plug in the center underneath the pump was like jostled. It was not sealed. So like, I don't know if it was the freeze thaw or whatever, just kind of like broke that seal. So water was coming out from that. So we've since come in, Paul repositioned the cork right there and then did new silicone. So it's holding water a lot better, but there's still cracks at the bottom. And I think we're gonna do like a Flex Seal. So we just wanted to fill it back up. Like this was just a yesterday thing, just to see how long it held water, how bad the leaks are. And it's clearly not horrid because it still has quite a lot of water in it, but it gives you a better idea now of what it looks like when it's running. And it just, I love seeing or hearing that sound and seeing the water movement out here. But I did want to mention that the majority of the leak problem had to do with the plug in the center, not the cracks that we were seeing, but we still need to fix those things. It's like a half retraction, I guess. But I am so excited for all the bricks to be done in here because they still have to do the border on all of it to keep everything in place and all the sand. But we've got mulch for all of this space. We're gonna mulch this whole area, cover up all the drip tubing and all of like the crummy looking areas. And then I've got some plants to put around the like junction of where the bricks come together in the center. I'm looking forward to that because that is going to make it look so good. It already looks good. They've done such a beautiful job. Berries and grapes are doing well, like so well that the raspberries are coming up everywhere already. So I need to get in there and pull all of those. But there's some really nice things too. We've moved some delphiniums into this area, and you can tell specific pockets have been focused on more. You know, like this area over here, there's more stuff coming up. Same with this one. I mean, you can only move so fast and plant so many things, right? I'm gonna be adding more probably out here today, later on. But there's another gorgeous red bud and, okay, so yellow twig dogwoods, highlight. This is just, I love these plants. I love them. And I added 3 more back in there. So we've got 6 out here and now we've got a couple by the pond and I could just keep going with them because they're so, like the red twig, which we have on this side, are wonderful, but the yellow it shows up even more, like against snow. It's so bright and cheerful. We've got a few topsy-turvy daffodils that have come up in here, and then the beautiful eastern redbud, which we dug up from that flower bed. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, these plants.
We didn't dig it up, you dug it up.
Yeah. I think you had to help me move it though in the end. I think
you know what, you might be right.
I think I maybe got it unhinged from its spot and then I couldn't move it by myself, but I did not realize how the root systems of these grow and they don't want to be transplanted, so I was a little nervous for it, but it's beautiful. It's really done well. Okay, and then one more look down this area and then we'll hit the west side and then I think we've got it all. I love the Spartan junipers right here. I think this is a really fun look. It's like it's formal without being too formal, you know, the unshorn look, but it adds structure. Put in these perennials the other day. They're doing great. We've got delphiniums, which went through the 30-mile-an-hour wind day, and most of the bloom stock stayed upright. So that was one of the things that Proven Winners, like, they wouldn't add just any old perennial to their line. Like, it's got to be better than other things that are out there. And it said that these are tough and strong and don't need to be fussed with, like staking and all of that, like normal delphiniums. And I was kind of like, oh, we'll see. And I took these, like these had been coddled and grown in undercover, and they'd been in our high tunnel as well. And I put them out the very next day was the 30-mile-an-hour wind day. And I thought, well, this is the best test, I guess, because these stalks are going to be the most tender they'll ever be in their life. You know, after this point, when they're out here and they're coming up in our own weather, they're going to be acclimated even better to wind. Then we're going to be working on filling up this space more this year. You'll see random piles of pine cones. That's Samantha. When I'm out here working, she likes to make little collections of things. And the blue spruce is still looking really good in this space, which I'm thankful for. Our little flower topiary that Bountiful Farms sent out survived the winter-ish. I need to do a little clean out of its little petals here, but not too bad. Anyway, I need to focus on this space a lot too. I got to figure out what I want in here. It's just that we've got it kind of ringed with things that are going to get big. Indian Magic Crabapple is about ready to bloom. We've got a Corinthian linden right here. That one grows 15 feet wide. The Oregon green Austrian pine will grow, I think, 15 to 20. Maybe it's somewhere in the 10 to 20 range. So like I can't put anything that gets real big right here in the center. Maybe this would be a good location for another fountain.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, just kind of have like a centerpiece in here so that we don't have to worry about things growing too much or into each other. Okay, let's head to the west side now. So right near the parking area, I did want to show you these. These are tiny dancer lilacs that we planted here a couple of years ago, and they're doing a beautiful job. Like, we have some infrastructure back here. We've got a box and like panels and stuff like that, and I wanted something that would just create a nice backdrop, and this one, or a nice cover rather. I think these grow like 4 to 6 feet tall, so I mean they might grow about this much more, which will be perfect. But look at how loaded they are. This is the best year for them yet. They're so gorgeous. And then we've got a Chanticleer pear back behind them in bloom, and then we've got the instant karma elderberry. Gardener beware. They're an awesome plant. I highly recommend, but they get big, and they get big fast. Any elderberry, at least for us in our area, will get miles bigger than the tag says they will.
What does the tag say on this one?
You know what? I don't have my phone on me, but we could look it up.
We'll put it on the screen.
Yeah, I know that black lace elderberry, I think it says 6 to 8 feet tall and wide. That's like half their size for us. Okay, down the west side. So the last area, this is what I was talking about with the red point maples. Was this the first one we put in, Erin? And then we put the other 4 in after?
I think we put them all in the same time, didn't we?
Oh,
or no?
You know, I can't remember. I thought it was maybe shifts, but you might be right. They're getting some size. They're getting nice and big, and so are the arborvitaes. So if we move down this way, you can see some real pretty bulbs here and there. Our triple trunk. There's a finch right there in the tree. It's not moving. Oh. Do you see it? Oh. So we planted 3 like 5-gallon or 7-gallon single trunk trees in the same hole. I love that look. So this is another instant karma that we've been working on keeping in more of a tree form, and you can see that I need to get after it again and just shear it up, get rid of some stuff that's hanging into the pathway, and keep this a little bit more vase shaped and tree formed. So our arborvitaes, we need to get some of them, not very many, but some of them tied back up.
Yeah.
They're kind of flopping over a little bit.
We've been so focused on getting like drip.
Yeah,
and
fertilizer.
Like, other things going right now.
Yeah, and just general cleanup, like that can happen a little bit later. But those have grown so tall that they shade this stuff a lot in the afternoon, and these shade it at least in the direct path of their canopy, shade it in the morning. So like right in here, well, this one's shaded by the locust. So like there's very little amounts of space that are getting full sun anymore, which is fine. We'll just move some of these perennials out somewhere else. I love all the tulips in here. This is is it like Sana? It's SANNE variety. I love this. Are those blushing princess? Those are blushing princess. Yeah. And then perfect purples to the left there. And they've been pretty good about coming back. But we've just got some really nice perennials. This will fill in. It's surprising how much it fills in. There's a whole bunch of David Austin roses in here, mostly in the pink family, hardy geraniums, there's salvia and lady's mantle, and just a lot of things are just starting to wake up and starting to fill in just a little bit. And then the instant
Is this dead, this tree?
No. That's
it just takes a minute?
Yeah, it's a red obelisk beech. So it stays very narrow, but they're very late comparatively. And then we got some windflowers in here. Just a little patch, but they're pretty. They're not open all the way yet because it's still cool, but they open up these big, beautiful daisy-esque looking flowers that I love. And then they fizzle up and go away in the summertime. Like you won't even see the foliage canopy. Real quick, I just have to show you the view through here. I know we've already been over here, but we were looking at it from a different angle. But if you look through like right here, you can see the nymph. I think it's a fairy nymph fountain back in there. Just the way the light hits it in the morning. Oh, I just love it so much. And our last space, you guys, is the raised bed garden, which we've got lots of stuff going on in here at the moment. There's a few empty beds, but a lot of, we've got lettuce coming up, bachelor's buttons, which I don't weed because I think it looks really pretty when they're in bloom. And it looks like this overflowing abundance and a little bit of wild with the structure. I kind of like that. But we've got cabbage in here and broccoli. Carrots are coming up great, and I actually thinned these. Like first time in years I've ever thinned carrots. Looks like more have come up. I need to thin again. It looks like somebody's toy blew in. This is not ours. Find the owner of that. Anyway, we'll just end right here, I guess. Right underneath the beautiful weeping willow, which Aaron and I just took after the other day with some pruners. And there were some pretty significant branches over here. We need to shave up a little bit more still so that we can free the arborvitae from all of the leaf canopy of the willow. We don't want to have the same situation like the boxwoods at the ends of the Hartley. So we took down some pretty big branches over here and a lot of dead from the interior of the tree. So it's looking a little bit better, a little more thinned out. But anyway, that's the state of our garden right now in mid-April. I'm really happy with everything that's up and how everything's looking. I think it's looking really nice. And it makes me feel encouraged. Aaron, last night you were just saying, I think we were laying in bed, and you were like, I love this time of year. It's true. It just puts like a spring in your step, and you feel like so encouraged when you see the work that you've put in, like actually start to come back to life and show some color and some beauty. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this super long tour. I cannot believe we fit it pretty much all in one fell swoop. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye.